Gold Rush fans want to see Tony Beets get his water license so he can get 2 dredges running. However, there is something from his past that might be getting in his way. Could his Viking funeral have killed any chance that Tony has of getting his water license? Here is a look at the Viking funeral and what it means for Tony getting a water license. A fan on Reddit started a thread saying fans should start a petition to help Tony Beets get his water license on Gold Rush. While several fans mocked the post's idea that a petition could sway the Canadian and tribal governments, others brought up the reason that Tony is not able to get his water license. Way back in 2017, Tony Beets was part of what he called a joke gone bad on Gold Rush. This was the Viking funeral. In the episode, welder Mark Favron was on his last day working for Beets. He asked if he could pull the stunt, and Beets said he didn't care. What Favron did was highly illegal. He poured gasoline into the water, and then another employee lit it on fire. The entire area burst into flames, and everyone whooped and hollered in triumph at the Viking funeral. However, this polluted the water, and Favron ended up fined $1,725 after pleading guilty. Tony ended up in Yukon Territorial Court for the stunt, charged under the Yukon Waters Act. His crime was allowing the stunt to take place and not reporting it. The courts took notice when the stunt aired on Gold Rush and charged him with pollution charges. Brendan Mulligan, a senior water quality scientist for the Yukon government, testified gasoline contains toxins and carcinogens. They can harm humans, other animals, and aquatic life. This is a big deal, and Tony ended up in a lot of trouble for it. The Redditors who brought this up on the recent thread talked about the incident as a reason Tony Beets isn't getting his water license. Everyone keeps ignoring that stunt. If your company relies on water permits, pouring gasoline in a pond, and setting it on fire for a TV show probably isn't a great idea, one fan wrote. Others mentioned that Tony doesn't do a good job of repurposing the land after he finishes his mining. While Parker Schnabel got an award for his work at this, Tony is not as respected. With the Viking funeral in his past and his lapse of judgment in other areas, there is a chance he never gets this water license. Do you think Tony Beets will ever get the water license he needs? Did his Viking funeral on Gold Rush kill that chance, even now, years later? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Sean S. Lilos has been a freelance writer for over 25 years and is a voting member of the Oklahoma Film Critics Circle. He is also a published author with a book about the Stephen King Dollar Beatty filmmakers. Gold Rush. The Viking funeral of Tony Beets' water license introduction in The World of Gold Rush. Few characters stand out as vividly as Tony Beets. The larger-than-life miner, known for his no-nonsense approach and tenacious spirit, has navigated the treacherous waters of the Yukon with the same fervor as a Viking charging into battle. Yet, when faced with the prospect of losing his water license, Beets found himself at a crossroads that would ignite a series of events reminiscent of a Viking funeral, a dramatic farewell to the old ways, signifying both loss and rebirth. The setting? Yukon Gold Fields. The Yukon Territory, with its sprawling landscapes and rugged terrain, has long been a land of dreams and desperation. Here, miners risk it all in search of gold, battling both nature and bureaucracy. For Beets, the Yukon is not just a place to mine. It is a canvas for his ambitions, a realm where he has built an empire. However, the delicate balance of nature and industry often teeters, especially when it comes to water rights, a critical resource for any miner. The water license crisis in the fall of the mining season, Beets received a notification that sent shockwaves through his operation. His water license was under review. This license was not just a piece of paper. It was the lifeblood of his gold mining activities. Without it, his operations would come to a grinding halt. The bureaucratic labyrinth of environmental regulations and permits threatened to dismantle years of hard work, much like the Vikings' longships disassembling in the harsh seas after a fierce battle. Faced with the prospect of losing his license, Beets rallied his crew. He knew that this was more than just a business setback. It was a challenge to his very identity as a miner. The water flowing through the creeks and rivers was not merely a resource. It symbolized his legacy, his fight against the odds. With his crew gathered around, he contemplated how to confront this looming threat. The Viking funeral conceptus the days passed. Tony devised a plan that would embody the spirit of defiance and celebration inherent in Viking culture. Vikings honored their dead with grand funerals, sending them off with their possessions on burning ships, believing that the flames would carry their spirits to Valhalla. Beets envisioned a modern-day Viking funeral, one that would not only celebrate his achievements, but also serve as a protest against the potential loss of his water license. He gathered his crew and shared his idea. They would create a symbolic vessel, a boat crafted from wood and adorned with tools and mementos from their mining adventures. This vessel would be set ablaze on the river, a dramatic statement of their commitment to the land and their way of life. It would signify the end of an era, but also the hope for a new beginning. Building the vessel with spirits ignited by the vision of a Viking funeral, the crew got to work. They scavenged materials from around the site, old wood planks, scrap metal, and remnants of mining equipment. As they constructed the boat, it became a labor of love, each member contributing their skills and stories to the project. The atmosphere was charged with camaraderie and purpose. They were not just building a boat, but crafting a symbol of their resilience. Beets infused the project with his signature humor and intensity. He regaled his crew with tales of Viking lore, drawing parallels between their struggles and those of the ancient Norsemen. With each nail hammered and plank secured, the vessel transformed into a floating testament to their determination, embodying the spirit of adventure and rebellion that defined Beets' journey in the gold fields. The day of the ceremony finally, the day of the Viking funeral arrived. The crew gathered along the banks of the river, the air thick with anticipation. The boat, adorned with flags and tools representing their mining legacy, floated majestically on the water. It was a sight to behold, a juxtaposition of beauty and defiance against the backdrop of the rugged Yukon landscape. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the river, Beets delivered a rousing speech. He spoke of the hardships they had faced, the challenges of the mining season, and the looming threat of bureaucracy. But he also spoke of hope and resilience, urging his crew to remember the spirit of the Vikings, their unyielding determination to fight against the odds. With a torch in hand, Beets ignited the vessel, and flames engulfed the boat in a brilliant display of fire and smoke. The sight was both haunting and beautiful, a fierce farewell to the water license that could have chained them to a bureaucratic nightmare. As the flames danced across the surface of the river, the crew cheered, their voices echoing against the mountains. They were not just saying goodbye to a license. They were reaffirming their commitment to the land and their way of life. Aftermath and reflection. In the aftermath of the Viking funeral, word of Beets' dramatic display spread quickly through the mining community. The ceremony had resonated with many, sparking discussions about the importance of water rights and the struggle of miners against regulatory constraints. The event was covered by local media, drawing attention to the plight of miners in the Yukon and their fight for survival. Though the water license situation remained unresolved for a time, Beets' act of defiance had galvanized support from fellow miners and the community. The symbolic gesture had transformed into a rallying cry for those who felt marginalized by regulations. In the following weeks, discussions with local authorities began to shift, leading to renewed conversations about sustainable mining practices and the rights of miners. Ultimately, Tony Beets' Viking funeral was more than a farewell to a license. It was a celebration of resilience, a powerful reminder of the spirit of adventure that defines the mining community. Just as the Vikings ventured into the unknown, so too did Beets and his crew embrace the challenges that lay ahead. They emerged from the experience not only as miners, but as custodians of their heritage, ready to face whatever storms might come their way. Conclusion: in the end, Tony Beets' Viking funeral became a legendary tale, a fusion of history and modernity that echoed through the Yukon. It served as a reminder that in the world of gold mining, as in life, the only constant is change. With every challenge faced, every setback endured, miners like Beets continue to honor the spirit of the past while forging a path toward a hopeful future. The flames may have consumed the vessel, but the fire of determination burned brighter than ever, illuminating the way forward for generations of miners to come.